Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, everywhere across the world. Really happy to be with you here today. I am told that I'm live, so I better start. Thank you very much for all of you for joining us, for registering to such an important, at least for us, event. We are here today to relaunch the Mission Innovation Global Hydrogen Valley platform. We call it 2.0. Because it is a relaunch, like I said, and it's a bit more than 2 years from the initial launch in 2021. This is a project for mission innovation. It has been funded by the European Commission, implemented through the Clean Hydrogen Partnership or Clean Hydrogen GU, which I'm representing here today. And it is my pleasure to moderate the entire event. And you will see we have today great speakers, high-level speakers, and we thank them already for their time. This project, like I said, it has been procured by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership on behalf of the Commission again, and it has been executed, it is still executed by two consultancies, in the lead Roland Berger, supported by Unicom. And again, you will hear from them today. We know very well, and I'm not going to take time with introduction because my role is not that today, but we know very well that hydrogen valleys are clearly at the forefront of the clean hydrogen market development, one of the key enablers of reaching scale, bringing down cost, creating awareness, building skills at all local, regional, national level. I would like again to thank you all. I have to tell you, it's a great interest for our event. We have nearly 1,000 registrations. But I don't want to forget to thank to the real developers, in particular to those that helped us, to the promoters of the hydrogen valleys and helped us with their data. They help us to bring this platform to life, who have shared their data, like I said, and information about their projects, given insights into best practices, etc. And again, you will hear in a moment all about that. I would like now to go to present you just quickly the outlook of the agenda today, if we can get to the next slide. Yeah, so like I promised you, we will have opening remarks by high-level speakers. We will have first Ms. Rosalinde van der Vlies from the European Commission, and then Mr. Christoph from Knobelsdorff from Germany. Then we will have a presentation by the two consultancies, like I said, Roland Berger and Unicom, of the platform, introducing you the project. And then, of course, we will discuss about the content of the platform through two different panel discussions in two sessions, one on building and managing the valleys, and the other one on project development and funding of hydrogen valleys. And of course, we will close the event, hopefully in 2 hours, by our director of the Mission Innovation and the image of this platform, Mr. Matthijs Soede. Next slide. Yeah, I would like now to, and as I said, it is my great pleasure to invite for the first opening remark, Ms. Rosalinde van der Vlies. She is the director of the Clean Planet Directorate in the European Commission, Directorate Research and Innovation, but also Vice Chair of the Mission Innovation Steering Committee. Rosalinde, the pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much, Mirela, and good morning, everybody. It's really a great honor for me to be here at the relaunch of the Mission Innovation Hydrogen Valley Platform 2.0, and I think it's really a very, very timely moment. I just want to share with you really the commitment of the European Commission, both to supporting a clean energy transition at the global level and also specific support to developing globally hydrogen valleys. And in May last year, the Commission presented a strategy which is called the EU External Energy Engagement strategy in a changing world. And there it basically explains how the European Union will continue to support a global clean and just energy transition to ensure that we have sustainable, secure and affordable energy for all. And in this European external energy engagement strategy, a clear reference is made to mission innovation and how important mission innovation plays this important role in the context of this strategy, and in particular to support globally research and innovation initiatives. Because the Commission is very much supporting also the global cooperation on research and innovation, amongst others through Horizon Europe, of which we are very proud because we are basically the biggest publicly funded program for research and innovation in the world. Now, as part of Mission Innovation, the Commission is co-leading the mission on clean hydrogen. And I don't need to repeat to you that this mission is very concrete. I'm very happy with this mission because very often when we speak about the international collaborations, these are all very beautiful words, but sometimes they are more like strategic objectives, but not very concrete action. Now, the good news is about the clean hydrogen mission that this is actually extremely concrete, because through this mission, we want to ensure that we will be identifying at least 100 Hydrogen Valley project ideas by 2023, so this year, and then supporting basically these valleys to move from an idea to a fully fledged functioning hydrogen valley that will be at the local area delivering the production of hydrogen and also then the use of the hydrogen in this particular area. In the context of leaving no one behind, the Clean Hydrogen Mission will also support non-mission innovation countries and developing countries to create and deploy hydrogen valleys. And I think this is a very important aspect because it is a very clear invitation also to countries that are not a member officially of Mission Innovation to really jump on board, join the Clean Hydrogen Mission of Mission Innovation and get support in order to develop these hydrogen valleys. And Mirela, you already mentioned it. I think hydrogen valleys are really a very important tool to support our global climate ambitions, supporting to meeting also the Paris Agreement. And it's very clear that we need to accelerate. The recent synthesis report of the IPCC again confirmed that we need to continue to collaborate much more closely together, make linkages across the very, very ambitious projects in the world to really accelerate. And it's very clear that the hydrogen valleys, they have this great opportunity to build on the strength and the availability of renewable energy locally, and then to really make a kind of like mini hydrogen economy at the local level to really increase in the end the development of the hydrogen economy as a whole. And I think as a next step, it will be a great opportunity also to start thinking about how we can be connecting the hydrogen valleys together, thereby creating green hydrogen corridors. And I think that will again be a very important step forward to accelerating the decarbonization and building out really this hydrogen economy globally. So I believe that the Hydrogen Valley platform is really crucial in order to make this happen. The Hydrogen Valley platform will not only increase raising awareness, be able to showcase successful projects, do knowledge sharing, matchmaking, but I really believe that it is very, very important that we build this powerful community of enthusiastic hydrogen valleys and really make sure that we can learn from each other, inspire each other, and really then also bring these valleys to the next level. So I would like to thank again all the work that has already been done, not only, of course, by the colleagues that have been building this platform, successfully managing it, but also my big thank you to all the developers and promoters of hydrogen valleys out there who are really crucial to bring this platform to life, who have really already shared the data and information about the projects, shared insights into best practices. And I do believe this is a very powerful way forward in order to further accelerate the Hydrogen Academy globally. So I really believe we are now in a pole position to also move from idea to fully scaling up and a full deployment of the hydrogen valleys. So I would like to really thank you again and wish you a very wonderful and inspirational relaunch. I think this is also an opportunity for all of us to make a lot of publicity, to really talk about this also on our social media, because I think the hydrogen valleys are such a powerful concept, also very close to the citizens. And I think that is actually what we need also, globally in the world for our citizens, a message of hope that we do have powerful solutions to meet our climate ambitions and to accelerate very fast together. So back to you, Mirela, and thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rosalinde, for your kind words, but also for your kind and continuous support to the hydrogen in general, but to the hydrogen valleys in particular. Thank you to you and to the European Commission for that. I would like now to move to the next opening remarks slot, for which again we have a very high-level speaker, and it is my pleasure again to introduce Mr. Christoph von Knobelsdorff, CEO and spokesman from NOW in Germany. Christoph, pleasure is mine.
Hello, Mirela. Pleasure is mine too. Thank you very much. And dear Matthijs, also for inviting me to give a short welcome note at today's relaunch of the Hydrogen Valley platform, in which I try to contribute the German perspective. Germany is, as you have told, a member of the Clean Hydrogen Mission, and we are highly active in the demonstration pillar. And in Germany, the concept of integrated hydrogen projects has been playing a crucial role in the past, so that we have developed different types of funding opportunities for these H2 projects. And I give you some examples. We have, for instance, the so-called Highland project, which are regional hydrogen projects covering the whole value chain with end-use applications in the mobility sector. Then we have the so-called real-life laboratories, living labs. We call it Reallabore in Germany. I don't know if this is translated correctly, but the aim is to demonstrate the energy transition and adding an academic dimension to practical applications. Also accompanied with a project called Transfer Real, which aims at transforming what we find within these projects and transforming it into a regulatory framework. And indeed, we have also at the funding opportunities at the international level. So there's a program called the H2U PPP, a program which fosters public-private partnerships on an international level. You can call them hydrogen valleys too. So these activities show that we take the build-up of a hydrogen economy very seriously, and this is why we welcome the relaunch of the Hydrogen Valley platform, which is, what Rosalinde already said, a very good opportunity to foster international exchange in knowledge, technology, and best practices between key stakeholders that will accelerate the development of a global hydrogen economy. This platform enables or will enable the hydrogen community to grow and develop more joint projects in the future. This is what we hope for. So from the various programs at the federal level in Germany, as a best practice case, I'd like to mention one example of the so-called living labs, the so-called Norddeutsches Reallabor in the north of Germany. The goal of the North German Living Lab is to test the transformation path for an integrated energy system to reduce CO2 emissions in the north of Germany by up to 75% by 2035. Project itself counts more than 50 partners, such as Aurubis, ArcelorMittal, Covestro, and the Fraunhofer research institutes in Germany. 8 electrolyzers with a total capacity of 42 megawatts are operated in order to replace fossil fuels in industrial processes with hydrogen or its derivatives. It is expected to save between 350,000 to 500,000 tons of CO2 emissions per year. Large-scale approach gives the project a supra-regional model character in Germany and in Europe. projects such as this North German Realabor, of course, can only be a first step. In the next phase for the global hydrogen ramp-up, it's crucial to establish cross-border collaboration. Rosalinde just called it the green corridors. Hence, initiatives like the Hydrogen Valley platform that foster this development are highly needed. We recently organized a symposium to our so-called Highland program, and there we could see the high interest in building cross-border hydrogen valleys. We welcomed international guests from the European Clean Hydrogen Partnership, as well as from Poland and the Czech Republic, and had been able to discuss recent developments of hydrogen valleys within countries. And then this also was mentioned by Rosalinde already. Future developments of hydrogen valleys internationally are supported by the work of the Clean Hydrogen Mission in Pillar 2. And it was already mentioned, the so-called Hydrogen Exchange Program, which is led by Germany, which seeks to transfer and share knowledge with and between non-mission innovation countries to enable policymakers to start and accelerate the development of their own hydrogen economy. And to achieve this, the mission set up a series of workshops in 2023 that will cover a range of topics. For example, the following: there will be workshops, a workshop on regulation, institutional framework, workshop on technological developments, workshop on certification of green and clean hydrogen, funding and investment of hydrogen projects, and last but not least, hydrogen project development. And with this hydrogen exchange program, we provide the tools to get countries ready to subsequently also join the Hydrogen Valley platform and become part of the global network. We think that it's a very, very useful approach. And with this, I'd like already to conclude my opening remarks and wish you all a very insightful event today. I invite you to spread the word of the platform and to actively use it, the Hydrogen Valley platform, in the future. Then, in the end, it's only a tool, and we need all to make use of it. So then it will show its real worth. So thank you very much for your attention, and have a great day and a great event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christoph, for your kind words too, and for the support again to you and to Germany, to your organization NOW, to this important project together with the European Commission. Again, thank you to both of you. I think it's extremely important for us that we have you there with this project, and thank you again very much for entrusting us, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, with this task. And of course, the two consultancies. I hope you can stay with us. We'll get now to the subject of today's relaunch, and I would like to, if we can, I would like to introduce you, but I think I would like to also mention the questions. Do I have the slide with the Slido? And maybe we can go back then to the relaunch event. Yes. Thank you very much. So I would like to start with this, and then I introduce the next presenters. So for the audience, please try to use Slido for any questions you may have. You have here the direct link. Please also, like the two keynote speakers also encouraged us all, please also spread the word. You have the hashtag H2Valley platform. So please use it in your tweets, on the Twitter, or in your on LinkedIn, whatever platform you would like to use. So we are waiting for your questions. And now back to the next point on the agenda. And I would like to introduce the next speakers. The next speakers, of course, are, like I said, the two consultancies. So I would like to introduce Uwe Weinheim. Uwe, sorry for not pronouncing your name. Senior partner in Roland Berger, and Markus Kaufmann, partner also in Roland Berger. They will introduce us to the content of the Valley platform, and they will be joined later by Laura Marquez, EU Research and Innovation Consultant at Inicom, who will guide us through really the practicalities of the platform. So, Uwe, Marcus, the floor is yours. And like I said to all the participants, please put questions if you have anything to ask.
Dear Mirela, many thanks for the kind introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, we launched the Hydrogen Valley platform roughly 2 years ago, and the hydrogen industry has made significant progress since then. Hence, we believe it's really time for a relaunch. The announced green hydrogen capacity today exploded really over the last 2 years and stands at more than 400 gigawatt globally. And if you look at the project archetypes, many of those announced projects are based on the Hydrogen Valley concept. We have the pleasure to introduce the concept and the platform today. We will look at the new developments globally, and of course, we will introduce the new features of the Hydrogen Valley platform. To start with, so what is a Hydrogen Valley? A Hydrogen Valley is a mini hydrogen economy that integrates several steps of the value chain and various end users in a regionally defined scope. In the past, we have seen demonstration projects mostly focusing on single applications, and hydrogen valleys are the next development step. They showcase the full potential of hydrogen as an energy vector. And although hydrogen valley concepts are unique and depend on the specific objectives and regional circumstances, we see 4 common characteristics. First of all, hydrogen valleys go beyond R&D and demonstration. They are large in scale and have at least a double-digit million euro investment size. Secondly, they have a clearly defined regional scope. Hydrogen valleys are ecosystems that cover a specific geography. The footprint can range from a local focus, for example, a port area in its hinterland, to a specific region or to a transport corridor. Thirdly, well, the broad value chain coverage is important. Hydrogen valleys typically range from hydrogen production and also often dedicated renewables production to the subsequent transportation and storage of hydrogen and distribution to off-takers via various modes of transportation. And then fourth, the multiple end uses. Hydrogen valleys showcase the versatility of hydrogen by supplying several sectors such as mobility, for example, heavy-duty trucks, or industry, for example, green steel, or the energy sector. Hence, in a hydrogen valley, various final applications share a common hydrogen production source and a common supply infrastructure, and therefore create synergies and a more economic setup for all participants. On the next page, let us look at the hydrogen valleys that are featured on the platform. Back in 2021, we started with roughly 30 valleys on the platform. Today, we have 81 hydrogen valleys. That is a massive growth in a period of just 2 years, and a very strong sign of the success of the Hydrogen Valley concept. 2 aspects are important to note here. Back in 2021, most valleys were in Europe, and the concepts where the concept was also pioneered. And now we really see that hydrogen valleys being developed across the globes in all international markets, including Asia Pacific, the Americas, and the Middle East and Africa. Hence, Hydrogen Valley have really reached global scale, though most of the valleys are still located in Europe, where we see a nice distribution of the projects really across the continent. Rosalinde spoke earlier about the European Commission target to establish 100 hydrogen valleys by the end of 2023. Well, with 60 valleys to date, Europe is on track to fulfill the targets, though there is, of course, still a way to go. Well, the second aspect to note, back in 2021, most hydrogen valleys were small to medium scale, and focused on mobility applications. Well, if you look at the valleys today, you observe a shift towards larger scale projects that focus on industrial decarbonization as anchor off-taker. And that is very much in line with the policy objectives of the hydrogen industry and policymakers globally. So to sum it up, hydrogen valleys are really on a growth path, not only in Europe, but globally. Combined with a shift towards larger scale industrial activities, it shows that the hydrogen industry matures and is heading towards more commercial solution. And this is precisely where it ultimately needs to be. I now hand over to Marcus to provide more details on the hydrogen valleys that are featured on the platform. Over to you, Marcus.
Thank you, Uwe. Indeed, as Uwe mentioned, and as Rosalinde and Christoph and Mirela also mentioned, we have really a unique opportunity with this platform to look into the details of what the growing green hydrogen, clean hydrogen projects around the world are doing, and how their concepts are evolving. With this platform, we now have dozens and dozens of very comprehensive data sets, project profiles which are being presented, and analytics that users of the platform can do for themselves. So I now want to take a quick look at what the projects look like and how they've evolved. As Uwe said, the growth is significant. If all of the valleys on the platform today were built, we would have almost 10 million tons of green hydrogen productions per year already with those projects, and when they're fully built out. In addition, we also gain insights into how technology adoption takes place. We have a clear view that we have both, for instance, PEM and alkaline electrolyzer technologies being used. In alkaline electrolyzers tend to be used more in larger scale projects, or projects which have a bit of a closer and more imminent timeline to commercial operations. PEM, on the other hand, with a clear focus in either smaller industrials or smaller mobility projects. We also see the use of different types of storage and transportation technologies, but most importantly, I think it's very important to note, as Uwe already hinted on, how the offtake side has evolved over the past 2 years. So especially in Europe, hydrogen valleys had a legacy of coming from mobility applications, buses, cars originally as well. That is still the case, even though now we see really heavy-duty mobility trucks being at the center of many valleys that focus on decarbonizing mobility. We also see that valleys enlarge their scope geographically, that they think of connecting to each other, building corridors with more refueling stations deployed, and then really enabling long distance freight transport with fuel cell hydrogen trucks. And in addition to that, I think we have a 20 percentage point growth in industrial off-takers being decarbonized in hydrogen valleys over the last 2 years. So really, we have more and more hydrogen valley concepts where the fertilizer industry, where the decarbonization of methanol production, or in the future of steel production, is at the center of the valley. And then the mobility end users can kind of benefit from that anchor offtake from industry due to the lower cost of larger scale green hydrogen production, for example. And then some of that hydrogen can be used in mobility. On the next slide, we also see that we gain insights on the economics of the project and what's behind it. If all the projects on the valleys were built, we're reaching almost 100 billion in total investment. The sort of near-term hydrogen cost expectations in the valleys are still above 5 euros per kilogram on average, but we also see very ambitious cost projections for projects, especially the larger ones, which go significantly lower than that. And we also see that developers of valleys do become increasingly confident on the commercials and the competitiveness of their projects compared to the fossil alternatives that they're trying to replace. That's not to say that public funding is not needed any longer. It is still very much needed in many cases of projects to make them bankable. But the commercial robustness of the business cases is really growing, and we can track that based on the data. On the next slide, we've also taken a closer look at where the projects actually stand today, and that's important to note. Clean hydrogen still is a nascent industry, and I think everyone is aware of that. So we take all projects that have either that have fully developed a project concept and where the feasibility study has already advanced as potential members of the platform. we have around 20% of valleys that are already under construction or operational, but the vast majority, and this is clear here, still has to take a final investment decision. Yeah, so I think as Uwe mentioned, we do see an incredible dynamic in terms of more and more developers in more and more parts of the world aspiring to and developing more and more complex and sophisticated integrated projects, whether they call them valleys or hubs or clusters or ecosystems. It's at the end of the day a very similar concept, but they still have some way to go to actually make them happen. They also still face a number of uncertainties and challenges along the way. I will get to that in a second. So the objective of the next years will be to bring as many of those to an FID and actually get them built and in operational. So you can see most of them are kind of centered around 2025, 26 when they actually plan to become operational. And as you also see, the more time progresses, the larger the valleys that expect to be implemented. Many of them pursue a phased approach where they grow in size and capacity with an initial build-up phase, maybe of a few 10 megawatts of electrolysis, and then into a few hundred and maybe up to a gigawatt of capacity. So that's important to watch out, and something that the platform will try to monitor in the future, how the valleys progress along the project lifecycle. On the next slide, as I mentioned, we've also taken a closer look at what challenges and success factors we see for the projects. It's also here there's a clear evolution taking place. Let's talk about the challenges first. What we see happening right now is that different issues are bugging developers than 2 years ago. 2 years ago, at the launch, we talked a lot about regulatory uncertainty, about missing policies, standardization, what means green hydrogen, etc. That has improved, so to a significant extent. Still, we have almost half of the valleys mentioning regulatory provisions or uncertainty around that as a top concern. But I think if I think of Europe with a number of policies being implemented, more clarity on RED II delegated acts and what actually constitutes green hydrogen, there's a significant improvement, and that helps projects to actually go to FID. At the same time, we still see that permitting and authorization is a clear concern for developers, and that's twofold. That's in some countries, it's about just simply missing processes or uncertainties around which permitting process, licensing process to follow. But it's also the concern that public authorities are not ready, whether it's resource-wise, process-wise, digitization-wise, to actually grant permits for the deployment of electrolyzers or of refueling stations in time. One of the examples I like to quote here is, even in Germany, I think where I'm from, it still takes anywhere between 3 and 18 months to permit a refueling station. We've been doing that for 20 years. 18 months is obviously too long. So in this sense, I think it's important to note that for policymakers, there's still a lot they can do to help valleys actually be implemented even faster and ultimately successfully. The success factors that the developers and project promoters see are also quite consistent. So the key concern is to develop a functioning business model. And what does that mean? We will come to that in one of the panel discussions. It actually means finding off-takers, commercial customers to buy clean hydrogen on a long-term basis and commit to that offtake so that midstream and upstream investments can take place. So defining that commercial structure, concluding contracts between parties to de-risk investment, that is clearly the key success factor. If you're basically able to crack that nut, then you have a chance to actually make a hydrogen valley happen commercially. Tied to that is securing funding, both public and private funding, to actually get the capital together to make the investments happen. And I'm glad, as I said, that we will be able to talk about that in one of the panels in a few minutes. Looking at the next slide, I'd like to now take a pause here, so Uwe and I maybe can take a couple of questions on the data and analysis that we that we have in Slido right now.
And I see we already received the first question on the interactions between the Hydrogen Valley initiative of Mission Innovation and the Clean Hydrogen Partnership and the US Hydrogen Hubs initiative. And in fact, the concepts are very similar. So first of all, we have US hydrogen hubs on the platform at the moment. So on a valley to hub level, there is indeed exchange, and the contents and lessons learned of the US projects are also featured on the Hydrogen Valley platform. We will also, in the course of the project of the next months, further intensify the knowledge exchange by organizing regional lessons learned workshops. And then looking at the features of the platform that Laura will present in a second, there is also a section now that allows developers across the globe, including Europe and the US, to exchange directly one-to-one on project contents, to exchange data and knowledge, to facilitate this cross-Atlantic collaboration even more.
Yeah, I think I want to take up also one or two questions from the Slido. One is about green hydrogen corridors. Also mentioning that there are several missions under Mission Innovation looking at the concept of green corridors and how we define it. We have mainly defined it in terms of how we analyzed the different valleys, and what we see. I mean, you saw a tremendous number, more than 60 valleys in Europe, yeah, and of course, given the size of the European continent, density of population and projects, valleys simply start to be closer together now, and that's also tied with, of course, advances in commercial development, for instance, for hydrogen trucking, but also pipeline developments that are planned in Europe. And here, simply, people start to connect the dots and look left and right. We now have corridors naturally forming between valleys, for instance, in northern Italy and Austria and southern Germany, between northwest Germany, the northern Netherlands, and Denmark. And we see basically valley concepts and promoters teaming up to expand the coverage of hydrogen infrastructure and connect even more in supply and demand. So that's how we define corridors in the concept of connected hydrogen valleys. And maybe tied to that, let me quickly pick up a very, very important and maybe obvious question from the list. Why do we see so much dynamic in Europe compared to the rest of the world? I would put it this way. As Uwe and Mirela mentioned, the valley concept was coined and created in Europe, I think back in 2017 already. So here we have lots of potential to look left and right and copy paste and learn from each other. We have a very active effort on the part of the European Commission, but also European member states to make public funding available for hydrogen valleys, provide technical assistance also to project developments. And I really think we are seeing the fruits of those efforts and the benefits from those efforts now by those numbers we have. On the other hand, we have a lot more valleys globally speaking than we had 2 years ago. We have the hubs initiatives in the US. We have the cluster initiatives in Australia. We have Hydrogen Valley announcements out of South Africa, India, etc. So the concept is really going global, and we expect, of course, the dynamic outside of Europe to increase even further.
And it is, of course, also a function of the project archetype we see in certain geographies in the world. And so the Hydrogen Valley concept as such is about sharing of infrastructure, sharing of production capacity for various end users to bring the costs down to the benefit of all. If you look at many of the larger scale projects that are being developed, for example, in the Middle East or in Australia or in South America, those are purely export oriented, without much local offtake, and as such, they do not qualify to be a hydrogen valley. But of course, we see quite promising developments in those countries as well to develop a local hydrogen economy and then progressively develop into a hydrogen valley concept. Yeah. I've seen a couple of questions also concerning the question, why is a certain valley not featured on the platform? Well, this is purely a matter of activation. So if you wish to become part of the Hydrogen Valley platform, please contact the team. Very happy to support with knowledge or the data that is available to provide project development support and feature your valley on the platform as well.
Exactly, and how to do that, we will get back to that in a second. And now I'm going to hand over to our colleague Laura from Inicom, our partner in this, who will walk us through the features of the platform that you can then go and check out for yourself. Laura, over to you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. I will guide you now through and show you what's new on the Hydrogen Valleys platform 2.0. First of all, as Marcus and Uwe mentioned earlier, in this new relaunch of the portal, we present now 81 valleys, contributing to the Hydrogen Valleys and Analytics menu with their insights. These valleys are spread over 31 countries worldwide and account for an investment volume of almost 90 billion euros. Focusing on the Hydrogen Valleys menu on the next slide, all 81 valleys are listed and the profile of each valley can be accessed. Exactly. In the profile of a valley, the most relevant information for the public is displayed. First, a short description of what the valley represents is shown, together with the lead developer, project partners, main political sponsors, and their location on a dynamic map. We continue with the details of the project highlighted in the profile with a blue-black background, learning about the hydrogen production, the investment volume, and the type of funding received in the valley. Additionally, there is information on the value chain and the end uses in the valley, such as mobility, energy, or industrial feedstock. And finally, there is a visual timeline showing the duration of the project and its current status, as well as key success factors of the valley. Once the values are known, it is possible to find the information collected and analyzed in depth in the analysis menu. This menu is divided into 4 sections: statistics and barriers, which presents the data graphically and very dynamically; best practices, which provides the opinions of the valley on topics of interest; and finally, the reports, which presents insights on the hydrogen market situation. In the chart sections, which are statistics and barriers, there is extensive information covering the fundamentals, the value chain, the preparation and financing phases, as well as the impacts of the project and the barriers encountered in the project development. In each graph, it is possible to filter the information displayed according to the continent, the investment volume, the production volume, whether it is small, medium, or large scale, end-use application, as well as electrolyzer technology. Then moving to the best practices section, the approach of this section is new for this relaunch, as it now focuses on the topics of interest for the valleys, such as commercial de-risking, project governance, and public and private funding. Each topic has insights from different valleys collected in interview format, so you can check it now. And now, moving on to the main feature of this new relaunch, which is the new members area of the platform. This members area is accessible right now from the homepage of the portal in the banner on top of the homepage, and it aims to enable the connection and collaboration for all the stakeholders within the Hydrogen Valley community. You can sign up now at the membersarea.h2v.eu. This members area will act as a networking platform for all the stakeholders involved in the Hydrogen Valley community. This means that you can publish posts with valuable insights, interact with other members through private message, comments on posts to exchange knowledge. And additionally, you can also find out about upcoming events, sign up for them, and find out who is attending. Finally, each user has their own profile where they can display the information they desire, as well as indicate if they are part of any of the valleys published within the H2V platform. And with this, these are the latest additions to the platform. So don't forget to visit it and register to the members area. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for the quick run through the platform. Check it out for yourself. h2v.eu is the URL. And now, since we've already had that question also on Slido, I want to recap again how you can reach out to us and what's going to happen next. So you heard Uwe in the beginning defining what a Hydrogen Valley hub cluster, etc., is that we would love to feature on the platform. It's about clean hydrogen production, large in scale, so double-digit million euro investment, more than one end use, broad value chain coverage in a clearly geographically defined scope. Some valleys are actually in a valley, others are around a port or a certain metropolitan area, a certain region, province, county, or whatnot. You should demonstrate that the project has passed feasibility stage. Please reach out to us via email, and you will then be sent a survey that you complete. All of that information is treated strictly confidentially. You will then create a profile on the platform, and the information you provide becomes part of the platform analytics. And when you're admitted to the platform, you are allowed to and very welcome to use the Mission Innovation Hydrogen Valley certificate that you see here displayed on the right-hand side, and that after this event we will make available to the 80+ valleys that are on the platform now today, and that they are welcome to use in their communication. On the next slide, I wanted to briefly stress that today is the relaunch of a platform that will be the center of a number of activities over the coming months and years. So we see this as a starting point for the community to work even more closely together in the future on developing those projects and moving them forward. You see, a lot of them still have a long way to go to final investment decision to actual commercial operations. So we will be sharing via the platform new reports and analytics and updated data. We will ask the valleys to periodically update the data so we can track progress and reflect any changes. There will be topical and regional workshops that we will organize on different topics of project development with different target audiences and geographies. So stay tuned for those. They will be announced via the platform and organized via the members area. We will also compile the information we now gather in short white papers on different topics with different target audiences, including, for instance, policymakers in terms of what they can still do on regulation, permitting, authorization to make developers' lives easier. And I already mentioned several times the members area that will become a key tool of communication for that. All of those activities you see here on the slides in the coming months and years. So please stay tuned for what more will come. And with that, I will close this part of the session on the next slide by just repeating the core team that you can reach out to. That's on the side of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, Mirela and her colleagues, and that's Uwe and myself on behalf of the consultants implementing this initiative. And with that, I hand back over to Mirela, who will introduce the next point of the agenda.
Thank you. Really, thank you very much. If I didn't say it enough before, just to say again, thank you to you all, Uwe, Marcus, your teams, smart teams behind that are helping us with the whole project. And of course, Laura and your team on Unicom side. So really, thank you very much. I just want to say that there's a lot of people behind. I mean, you just see now today the face of few of us for the relaunch of the event. I also want to say that a bit comment quickly on the points you already made, Uwe, Marcus. And the audience already asked about why so much in Europe. Yes, we have not taken the opportunity today to also present what the Clean Hydrogen Partnership is doing already on the hydrogen valleys. I mean, you are already somehow, Marcus, introducing the idea, and you know, we worked together back in 2017, also with you, with Roland Berger, when we started working with regions, and we came with this, how can I say, wording of the valleys. We started back, in fact, even further in 2015, calling them territories, 2017 valleys. And of course, we supported some of the valleys that you see on the platform, and you will hear in a moment in the panel discussions. Some of the valleys are partially funded by the Clean Hydrogen JU through the Horizon program, Research and Innovation Program of the European Commission. So of course you have that. It doesn't mean that in the other parts of the world there is no activity. There is, but the funding probably it's just coming now. While we have started, like I said, with our first funding in 2015 and then 2019 in the Northern Netherlands. We also know, which we haven't said today, that we received last year in 2022 with the REPowerEU communication of the European Commission, additional funding of 200 million just to fund hydrogen valleys and to double the number of the valleys by 2025. Of course, you already see that this result of all these activities. And like also Marcus said, we have activities such project development assistance, where we work with regions locally to develop such projects. So that's why, if it was not clear already, that's why we have more valleys here. Final point I want to also make before we get into discussions, it's yes, we will continue working with that or on the Valley platform. We have a mandate already from the European Commission. I think Matthijs later will also mention that the European Commission it's working on a roadmap for hydrogen valleys in Europe, for which we have done also several workshops already. So yeah, there will be even more to come. And also to say that, because I know in the past, and you know me by now, I'm pretty open about how we work. We know that some of you do not see your valleys on the platform, and I think it is clear, if not yet, that not anybody that has an idea of a valley is going to be featured on the platform. So there are some criteria to be featured on this platform. And when we came with the idea of making even a certificate that Marcus presented, that was endorsing somehow the fact that this is a recognized valley with a sufficiently mature concept of that valley. So like we say it between ourselves, not any PowerPoint, it's a valley. So just to make that clear, that there are some criteria behind in order to be featured on this platform. So I hope I complemented somehow the presentation and how we have made this platform. And without taking more time, because I'm not supposed to do that, but I felt like doing it, and I see that the time allows me to do it. So sorry for that. I just want to now move into the panel discussion, and let's hear from the different valleys, and let's hear about, in particular, the challenges that these promoters or developers or project coordinators have experienced. And like I said in the morning at the beginning, we will have two different discussions. We call them sessions. The first one will be moderated by Uwe, and it will be on coalition building and project governance. And I really look forward to the discussion. Uwe, I give you back the floor.
Thank you, Mirela, and very important comments. So in this first panel session, we will discuss how to build and manage hydrogen valleys. And for that, it's a great pleasure to welcome our four panelists, Anna Maria, Gerd, Niels, and Steven. They all have extensive experience, really, in creating and developing hydrogen valleys, given their managing role in 4 major European valleys. And before we start the discussions on the challenges and lessons learned, the panelists will each provide an overview of their hydrogen valley. Starting with Anna Maria, who is a project manager at Ensebo in Luxembourg. Anna Maria will introduce a cross-border hydrogen initiative connecting Germany, France, and Luxembourg. Anna Maria.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be invited here to present Grand Region Hydrogen, a hydrogen valley, which was founded in August 2021, and which has now 11 members representing all the value chain on hydrogen, from the production to off-takers, interlinked in the middle by a cross-border hydrogen pipeline. If you can move to the slide that I have prepared here for our meeting. So as I said, Grand Region Hydrogen members have set themselves the goal of establishing of an integrated cross-border hydrogen system in the greater region by linking cross-sectoral projects, and with the first aim, or the major aim, for the decarbonization of the industry, and in the later stages on some segments of the mobility sector. The focus on the geographical sector is the Saarland region in Germany, the Grand East region in France, and also reaching out to the Luxembourg. We would like to stress here that one of our challenges, or one of our motivations for building a broader coalition, is that we needed an organized platform in order to allow a better and to foster our collaboration, and to allow our projects to advance together with common objectives, and therefore not having problems that the production is advancing more quicker than the consumption, and we don't have a possibility to interlink them. And this is one of the motivation. As the challenge, of course, you have to coordinate everybody. As I said, we have now 11 members along the entire value chain with different problems, and which applied for different funding systems that they are late in coming, or providing the right answer. Also, you can see here in the slides, I will not read everything, some of our figures that we want to push up front. So we want to ramp up between 2027 and 2030 to 450 megawatt of production capacity. And we have also this pipeline in the middle, repurposed and new pipeline, which is able to transport more than 55,000 tons of hydrogen per year. Also, we want to stress out that other than building this hydrogen valley, the project as overall contribute to the transformation of the territories from, for example, coal to decarbonized energy, making the area attractive for the industrial growth, and also transformation of a job, and also which is also good for a broader dimension, which was not being stressed enough because we focus on the technical elements. You will see here also the CO2 avoided of our overall global projects. And I think my minute it's more or less over, but you can ask question at the end.
Yes, indeed. And those questions will be addressed in the discussion. So thank you, Anna Maria. Next is Gerd. Gerd is the head of business development at EWE in Germany, and he will introduce the Clean Hydrogen Coastline program. Gerd.
Yeah, thanks, Uwe. So if you can skip to the next slide, you can see the Clean Hydrogen Coastline initiative. Well, basically, it's the second phase for our Hydrogen Valley. So we started 4 years ago on the Highways for Future project. And basically, we see the same development as Marcus described. So we started on a small scale approach, Highways for Future, funded by the Federal Ministry of Transport in Germany, roughly 2 megawatt for transport applications. And now we ramp up to 400 megawatt for industry applications. And of course, when you ramp up in that scale, you have to consider large-scale infrastructures, so pipelines for transport and large-scale underground storage facilities, and of course the cross-border aspect. So we are in a partnership with TenneT for the electricity side and Hassuni for the gas side. So Hassuni is planning to have a pipeline connection to the Netherlands from 2027. So there you can see scaling up and going more on the cross-border European level is the scope of this initiative. So yeah, happy for questions and the discussions afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you, Gerd. So now let us look at the H2 Valley Mid-Norway that will be introduced by Niels. Niels is the Executive Vice President Sustainability at SINTEF in Norway. So Niels, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation. If you can go to the next slide. This shows in essence the Hydrogen Valley Mid-Norway. This is born out of the Norwegian government hydrogen strategy, which is really about making clusters and investing into the hydrogen in Norway, also for developing technology and for use and export. And if you look here, you see that there is an initiative here which is born out of research and innovation being then deployed into real activities and a focus on maritime applications, so fish farming, container ships and fast ferries, and also road transport industry. Discussing with the methanol producer, also discussing further on with actually metal production and also vendors, so shipbuilders. And there is 150 million euros committed to this Hydrogen Valley Mid-Norway through the projects, which will provide something like 9,600 tons of hydrogen production per year, based on renewable hydrogen and possibly some low carbon hydrogen as well. And with a CO2 reduction of about 200,000 tons per year by 2030. So this project has been developed, and I can expand on that a bit later, through the cooperation between research and innovation and this research center, which is shown in the center here, the Hydrogeny Research Center, with the investment in itself of 50 million euros by public and private interest over 8 years, and then trying to make these as hydrogen valleys and then deploy the research and innovation to real plants. We don't have time at present to follow the linear models. We need to research, educate, and innovate as we actually build plants. And this has been developed also with the energy clusters and the Hydrogeny Center. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Niels. The fourth panelist today is Stephen. Stephen is the director of the Area Science Park in Italy. And Niels will provide an overview of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. Stephen, sorry.
Thanks, Uwe. Well, you talked earlier about hydrogen valleys being a minimum of tens of millions of investment. The North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley is a little more ambitious in that it is aiming to seek investments of the hundreds of millions across a broad ecosystem covering 3 national territories. So that the process started, as always with these processes, with people, because ideas are wonderful, but it's people that makes them happen. And the person that kicked this process off in the very beginning was Alexander Gerbets, who's an industrial visionary based in Slovenia in the company Ecobes, and he gathered around him a group of interested parties from Friuli Venezia Giulia, in particular the University of Trieste, and from the Croatian Ministry for Economy and Sustainable Development, as it now is. And he put together the bottom-up groundswell of public opinion that would lead eventually to the formation of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. The next step was to develop the political will to make that happen. And our vision from the very beginning was that this would be a transnational hydrogen valley. And so we set out from the beginning to get a letter of intent signed by the political representatives of the 3 territories. And that was the starting point for then being able to construct a broad partnership from the very beginning. So we built a joint working group which was built around the three institutions, so the Presidency of the Autonomous Region of Friuli-Venezia Giulia, the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Energy in Slovenia, and the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development in Croatia. They nominated representatives from industry and the research communities in each of the three territories, and those representatives extended that joint working group even further by putting out feelers into the community, and that led to the building of a large, broad coalition which numbered hundreds of interested parties in making this Hydrogen Valley happen. Of course, the Horizon Europe call for the large-scale Hydrogen Valley gave us the opportunity to present the first project from this initiative, but the two run in parallel. So the initiative is much broader than the project that was presented, even though that project in itself was very ambitious and, as I said, aims to attract investments in the hundreds of millions. We then used the opportunity to further consolidate that coalition of partners. We had a rapid but rigorous selection process to select which partners would participate in that first project for the large-scale Hydrogen Valley funding from the joint undertaking. And that led to the formation of a partnership of 34 partners, which already sounds like a large number of partners, but that's the tip of the iceberg in terms of the number of stakeholders who are already active in the North Adriatic in this Hydrogen Valley. That partnership presented a project which I'm pleased to say was viewed very positively by the Commission and is currently in the negotiation phase with the hope that we'll sign the grant agreement in the next few days, and that will really kickstart the process of the operational implementation of the first pilot projects. So that partnership includes the institutional partners, it includes research partners and educational partners who will provide the skill sets, and it includes a large representation of industry from the production of renewable energy, from the production of green hydrogen, and then its storage, distribution and utilisation across hard-to-abate sectors, the transport sector and the energy production sector. Our vision of the future governance is to use an AISBL, an Association Internationale Sans But Lucratif, the Belgian model, which allows for a truly transnational governance model. And we can talk about a bit more about that perhaps in the Q&A session. But our vision from the start was that the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley would be transnational in nature and would confront not just the technological challenges of building a hydrogen ecosystem, but also the political and judicial challenges of transactional hydrogen economies functioning across borders in three territories with very different legal systems and cultural baggage, which means that it is a challenge to make that system work effectively. And that's the challenge that we'll be facing over the next 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We heard about the project scopes and history. Let us now open the discussions on the lessons learned in setting up and managing valleys. And the first question goes to Anna Maria. Anna Maria, your Hydrogen Valley is a special one, as Stephen's is, since it involves participants in 3 countries. So what was the main motivation to set up a cross-border valley, and how do you deal with the complexities arising from the cross-border setup?
I think that the main motivation of building a cross-border valley was a bit obvious, because in fact the nucleus of the valley, it was a cross-border hydrogen pipeline. So the cross-border aspect was from the beginning. But building a broader valley around it is that we detected we had a very good ecosystem in those 3 regions that I mentioned, with projects related to hydrogen production and also needed expressed by the off-takers, mainly industry for the moment. So building a coalition in a form of a legal status, because by the way, our legal status is in a European economic interest grouping, in order to be able to coordinate ourselves and to advance together with the same goal and to exchange information and needs. That was a challenge. That was the main motivation. The challenge of being such a broader valley in 3 regions are so many different regulatory regimes, different funding schemes. For example, a producer on one side of the border and an off-taker on the other side of the border. It's a very tricky status for the moment. So those are some elements that I can mention as a challenge.
Thank you, Anna Maria. On Slido, we had a couple of questions on, well, the learnings and best setup for governing the overall program, being it a private party, as in the case of EWE, or a public promoter. So first question goes to Niels. So the H2 Valley Mid Norway is led by the Renewable Energy Cluster, a non-profit association that acts on behalf of various industrial players involved in the single projects. So Niels, what are the pros and cons of such a governance model?
Well, if you ask me how many partners do we have in the Hydrogen Valley Mid Norway, I'm not able to answer that actually, because there are so many in Renergy, and also in our partnership in the Hydrogeny Center, which actually assembles 50 industrial partners. But I see this as a perfect environment to make more hydrogen valleys, because we need more of them. I mean, now there is one here in Mid Norway, but we're also thinking about building upon this as a template for also looking into the activities we have at present on large-scale export to Europe, on low-carbon hydrogen, predominantly low-carbon hydrogen at least. What kind of valleys can we create here? Because obviously then we also need to have the knowledge sharing with the receiving countries, and how this can be built around the grand initiative of having 10 plus 10 million tons hydrogen per year by 2030. So I just see this as a start. We have a broad base. There are very concrete projects as part of Hydrogen Valley Mid Norway, and really we're the team of the willing, and that's extremely important to have the team of the willing.
Thank you very much, Niels. Then Stephen, your Hydrogen Valley is led by a public entity ultimately. So where do you see the benefits of having a public promoter, and what are the mechanisms to integrate industrial partners in the project?
Thank you. I think it's actually fair to say that our valley isn't led by a public operator, and the complexity of the transnational approach that we have taken is that the three public sector institutions, the governments of the Republic of Slovenia, the Republic of Croatia, and the Autonomous Region of Friuli-Venezia Giulia, got together to drive it forward, but to involve industry, which was the original promoter of the concept, and the research community all the way through that process. And that's why the choice of a non-profit international association was made, so that that can become the governance model that will have independence from the single government structures in the three individual territories, and be driven by the community rather than a single institution. And one of the difficulties that we faced in terms of the governance of this initiative was making sure that the three institutional partners had equal visibility, equal standing in the initial phase of the startup of that initiative, but that it became very quickly an independent driving force that could take the Hydrogen Valley concept forward. And I think we will confront numerous legal and administrative questions over the coming months and years as we try to perfect that transactional economy across borders. But the willingness to do that from the political institutions was key, and the willingness, if you will, to cede control, to cede power to the collective rather than one single institution trying to drive the whole initiative was also fundamental. And that's why we went for this more open, more involving, more engaging approach of a governance model that wasn't driven by a single organization, but that became an open association. And our long-term vision is that association becoming open to other actors as well.
Thank you, Stephen. Let's now come to Gerd. EWE pursues what I would call a classic governance model that is led by a private sponsor, and you organized the Clean Hydrogen Coastline program as an umbrella program for various activities along the value chain. And those projects are led by EWE with support of public and industrial partners, of course. So Gerd, how have you set up the program governance to make sure that the single activities develop in line with the overall program goals? And looking at your growth paths that you also described in your presentation, is there any impact on the governance model? So has it changed over time?
Well, yeah. So actually, we started with an innovation cluster, so-called innovation cluster, where we gathered actually the stakeholders, public and private. And well, for the second phase for scaling up, this cluster was pretty crucial because in the end we needed partners along the value chain, and partners who are willing to invest in the millions, right? And reducing risks is all about finding partners and secure your value chain. So actually it hasn't really changed. It got more, let's say, precise on the value steps. So when it was more diversified for the transport sectors, it's now more on the large scale infrastructure part. But in general, it's still about reducing risk by partnering. That is for us crucial.
Thank you, Gerd. On Slido, we also got a very specific question concerning the Clean Hydrogen Coastline Valley. Which are the principles that can make this project becoming an IPCEI?
Well, for the IPCEI approach is something we need to actually secure the funding, right? So when we scale up, we will need funding in as I said, in the millions. And usually the valley, the let's say the conventional valley calls are too small for that. So for IPCEI, it's crucial to have an European approach. So we are not the only ones in that field. So we have around 40 projects across Europe for the IPCEI approach to show that we have a European project in general, which is called H2 Infra, by the way, and is still in the application process.
Thank you, Gerd. So before we come to session 2, I would ask all participants if you could give a single advice to the companies and institutions that aim to set up a hydrogen valley. What would be your advice with respect to the partnering setup, to the governance structure? Starting with Anna Maria.
An advice, a short one, I would say coordination and projects advancing with the same pace is key in a hydrogen valley.
Thank you, Anna Maria. Over to you, Gerd.
Well, as I said, a partnership is crucial. We still need 4 years to deploy such large-scale systems, and in 4 years, the entire value chain has to be in place at the same time. So partnering is still the most important thing.
Thank you, Gerd. And Niels?
Yes, I think it's important that the promoters see the larger picture and how this fits in the European, not only national, but also European and global picture. So see the larger picture and make your coalition, the team willing. I think that's my key advices.
Thank you, Niels and Stephen.
Yeah, I think that last expression Niels used, the coalition of the willing, is absolutely fundamental. You need to have a broad church. You need to involve all of the key stakeholders. And to do that, I think it's crucial to map not just the public, but also the private sector funding opportunities over the medium to longer term to convince stakeholders that it is realistically viable to invest now in the hydrogen economy because there will be a return on that investment. Sometimes it's not easy for them to see the return on that investment in the short or medium term. So helping to project that to the longer term and mapping all of the opportunities for other funding to come in is crucial, I think.
Many thanks, dear panelists, for the insightful discussions, and hand over now to Marcus for session 2 that will focus on project development and funding.
Excellent. Yeah. So again, let me also say a big thanks to the 4 panelists who come up now. Based on what we've learned on how to set up and manage a coalition of the willing, we now want to look a bit more closely into the actual development activities, more technically speaking, some of the commercial aspects of making a hydrogen valley happen, funding and financing. So that will be the subject lines of this session. For that, I'm joined by 4 distinguished panelists, 2 from Europe, 2 from the Americas. The first one is Carlos Navas, the head of strategy and regulatory affairs of Enagas. Then we have Jaroslav Kryl, the CEO of Hydrogen Ukraine. We have Pedro Pajas de Tena, the CEO of H2B2, talking about a project in the US, SoHycal. And then we have a Brazilian hydrogen valley presented by Cone Hals, the chief operating officer of Peckham Industrial and Port Complex. Like with Uwe's panel, each panelist will briefly introduce their hydrogen valley, give a quick overview of what they represent, what they are pushing and promoting and developing and have done so over the last years and will do so in the future. And then we will go into a Q&A format, and I'm happy to pick up your questions from Slido as we go along. So the first one is Carlos, the floor is yours. Happy to have you. Please give us your elevator pitch on what's happening in Green Highland.
Thank you, Marcus. Just one quick clarification. I'm the head of strategy and regulatory affairs for Enagas Renovable. We're a subsidiary of Enagas. There is actually a head of strategy in Enagas, the parent company. Lovely person who's a colleague, but just to
my
clarify.
Apologies.
No, no worries. Not a problem. On Green Highland itself, so Green Highland is a hydrogen valley on the island of Mallorca. It's essentially under execution right now. We're commissioning the hydrogen plant these days, and there's already a bus fleet that's arrived within the scope of everything that you see on the slide. The project essentially talks about creating an ecosystem, a hydrogen ecosystem, with including the whole value chain from renewable energies, that is 2 PV plants that are brand new. They're up and running since June, all the way to a bunch of end uses. This is essentially a hydrogen production plant of 2.5 megawatts, producing 300 tons of hydrogen per year, supplied by 15 megawatts of solar energy coming from those 2 plants. There's a variety of uses, which you can see on the slide. Hydrogen refueling station will supply hydrogen for sustainable mobility. There's a fleet of 5 buses. Those have already arrived and they're up and running these days. In Mallorca, an additional fleet of 10 vehicles is expected later this year. Then there are a number of stationary applications with fuel cells being supplied by the same plant. One is a commercial fuel cell combined heat and power system in a hotel in Palma. There's another fuel cell to provide primary power to a ferry terminal in the port of Palma. And furthermore, another combined heat and power system with a fuel cell and a municipal building in Lloseta. On Lloseta is actually where the hydrogen production plant unit is located. This actually is located about 30 kilometers from Palma de Mallorca. It's about this is where where most of the applications will take place. For last but not least, we're going to have an injection of hydrogen into the local gas grid. There's a gas distribution grid that will also demonstrate how this particular technological application can happen. As I said, we're actually undergoing commissioning on the hydrogen production plant. We are already taking some visitors. I've already announced this on a number of forums. So we're trying to disseminate what we're doing in the project to try to get as many people interested in the technology, the various applications, and spread the word so that people can replicate at least part of it and learn from it. So thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you, Carlos. And as you mentioned, one of the valleys on the platform that will quickly move from the status of under construction to in operation, and that's excellent news. We now move to Ukraine, and I ask Jaroslav, the CEO of Hydrogen Ukraine, to quickly present the H2EU Hydrogen Valley. The floor is yours.
Good morning and good afternoon for everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the international and European support which are provided now to my country. And I want to thank for Ukrainian defenders which allowed me to participate now. I think that all support makes our victory closely. So what about hydrogen project in Ukraine? We had a big experience in renewables for more than 10 years, and the last 3 years we start this development hydrogen project. We choose the southernmost part of Ukraine. It's Odessa region because it's a region with the highest wind and solar potential and has abundance of water resources. In 2021, we finished pre-feasibility study. We evaluated all different scenarios, and we find a combination of electrolysis capacity, solar and wind, and we find the best combinations which provide us to get the lowest price of hydrogen. The main challenge now it's Russian invasion in Ukraine, and now we are focused on development of technical documentation of PV facilities and project documentation of wind generation for hydrogen production. And the second challenges for our project is to find possible off-takers of our hydrogen. And now we are under negotiation to supply our hydrogen to one of possible supplier in Romania. It could be industrial plant. So I hope that it will be happened. And many thanks for opportunity to connect to European and international hydrogen community. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Jaroslav, for being here and for presenting your Hydrogen Valley. We now want to move across the Atlantic to valleys in the Americas, and I'd like to ask Pedro now, the CEO of H2V2. First of all, thank you for joining us here. I think it's very early wherever you are. So thanks again on behalf of the entire audience and everyone else to present the SoEcal project from California. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Adam. It's a pleasure and honor for us to be here. So SoEcal is our H2V2 project in the United States. H2V2, we were started in 2016 by a professional who's been working on hydrogens since the late 90s. SoEcal is a project that we were partially awarded of financing from the California Energy Commission. That's allowed us to start on the fabrication process. It's when it's completed, it's going to be able to produce over 1,300 tons of hydrogen per day with a daily production of 3.8. We are starting. We're in the late phases of commissioning, so if everything goes according to the plan, by next month we will be start to produce around 300 kilograms per day, and it will be ramping up to this 3.8 by summer next year. It's very existing project. This our hydrogen is green hydrogen. We are powered by a solar plant and also by a biogas engine. We are completely off the grid facility, and our hydrogen is dedicated to mobility.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very, very clear. I'm happy to come back to some of the points already on the commercial logic behind it. It's fascinating, and I think commercial logic also brings me to the next Valley project, which I think is a fantastic example of an integration of local opportunities for hydrogen and global opportunities for hydrogen combined in one project out of Brazil. And I'd like to give the floor to Connie Hulst on the development of the Sierra Green Hydrogen House Hydrogen Valley project. Connie, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Let me start first of all that the port of Payssem, or the port and industrial complex of Payssem, is a joint venture between the government of the state of Ceará and the port of Rotterdam. And immediately you see that there is an important commercial link as well. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not in Brazil anymore. There's a new CEO, but I just moved in January back to Rotterdam. Now responsible for Brazil and setting up supply chains between Brazil and the port of Rotterdam, because we all know that the European Union has got a very large demand of green hydrogen. They want to have Port of Rotterdam aims about 4 million tons import of green hydrogen, which is about 24 million tons of ammonia in 2030. And 2050, it's about 20 million tons of green hydrogen. So these are actually in line with what the European Union wants. 2018, the Port of Rotterdam made a joint venture to invest in this port. This port is a commercial port, although they are owned as the shareholders by the state government and by the Port of Rotterdam, which is also a private commercial company, but owned by the Netherlands, the Dutch government, obviously. What is very interesting in Brazil is that, like everybody knows, there is a lot of sun, and also there is a lot of wind. And we talk about actually potential capacity of solar, which the values I will not pronounce here because they look like telephone numbers. Onshore wind is also like very high, and what is not existing as yet is offshore wind in Brazil itself. The efficiencies of offshore wind parks are actually beyond what is efficient in the European regions. So that means there is no lack of energy. And they say that studies show actually that by 2050, Brazil will be one of the lowest renewable energy costs in the world. Another advantage is that what we forget a lot with production of electrolyzing water to hydrogen is water. A lot of the projects around the world now aiming at desalination. Brazil, Payssem has gotten fortunate to have a 2.5 million population city of Fortaleza, which produces a lot of effluent water, and this effluent water is, as we speak now, being canalized to the port of Payssem, about 60 kilometers outside of the city, and the aim is actually to use this water, which is cheaper, and it's also more ecological friendly at the end of the day. So these were really like the real drivers. Okay, we'll need to go into green hydrogen production at the end of the day. Brazil is also 80% of the energy consumption in Brazil is from green renewable energy. And with regards to the EU regulations, this is important as well. And hence, actually, we said, okay, let's aim for green hydrogen production. What happens is that, you started up, and then you've got also local producers are starting up now. The first green hydrogen produced in South America comes from Payssem. It's a small 40 megawatt plant which started December last year and is producing actually for local power production. The large part, however, is aiming still on export to Europe, obviously, because with Port of Rotterdam is a shareholder and wants to secure energy transition for Europe as well. And hence you see this little picture of only 3 companies who are currently working towards FID for the export of green hydrogen. Ammonia in that case. Now we're talking about financing itself as well, and what is important for financing is actually that you got an investment climate which is favorable for investors to de-risk it at the end of the day. The influence or actually direct importance for the state of Ceará and the state of Ceará being a shareholding in this commercial enterprise to actually produce and develop a hub, an industrial hub on green hydrogen, is the major key of de-risking it. Also for getting finances from different public financing, but it also actually de-risks the projects of the investors itself. We are an open, we didn't go for tender, everybody was happy to come, first come, first serve. And there are about 20 companies who actually said, okay, we want to allocate, we want to hire a plot from you, and then we're going to start our FEED studies. The cost for transport around the world is very low in comparison to the total prices. So the concept of having a hydrogen valley, which you develop local demand, but also work on export, that is actually quite key at the end of the day. And what we see actually is indeed that export is here still necessary, but in the future it for sure will be local as well. Local industry actually lags a little bit behind at the end of the day. And that's, I keep it to questions now. Some more questions.
Thank you, Corne. Thanks indeed. I think a very, very important case to show the connection of local valley development with export prospects. First question is going to go to Carlos. Carlos, you know this was coming. So my first question is around commercial structuring. So your valley is close to actually becoming operational. Without sharing anything commercially sensitive, can you walk us a little bit through the commercial lineup of different contracts you have between upstream, midstream, and downstream end users? What is the kind of architecture that you have in place when it comes to offtake commitments, for example, to make sure that with the help of public funding, there's actually business cases that help people make an investment decision? That will be, I think, very beneficial for aspiring project developers to understand who sells what to whom on the basis of which type of contracts.
You want me to do this in 2 minutes, of course, right?
Yeah, of course. It goes without saying.
Okay. I'm not sure I'm going to be up to the task, but I'll give it a shot. First of all, just to summarize some overarching points, the investment that actually unlocked the whole thing, which I did not acknowledge at the very during my intervention, is from the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. So the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking provided 10 million euros of funding through a call of the year 2020 that really became the catalyst for going forward with a whole lot of preparations and then taking on FID right around that time. Without that, we would not be where we are today. So that's the first thing I would need to do, and acknowledge the help by the JU. That said, on the production side, what we have done is put together a brand new company, a new SPV, that we have created by virtue of having four shareholders. Two main ones, which are from the private sector, Enagas Renovable is one of them, and Acciona Energía is the other, as well as Cemex and IDAE. IDAE actually happens to be the energy agency of Spain, and they're also a shareholder in this company. And that's on the production side and the hydrogen refilling station. So that already gives you an idea of some of the things that would be good to do, because that way it helps you de-risk a little bit the investments from any one of those particular shareholders. Still doesn't answer the question of how to structure the contracts on the offtake side, and now you have to go one by one. So all of those, all of the companies that work together on the production side have to get together and build a business model and figure out how much it's going to cost to produce the hydrogen, to sell it to each one of the end users. The cost or the retail price to each of the end users is going to be different. Some of them actually have a hydrogen refueling station that you would have to amortize. Some of them are not responsible for that, let's say from the stationary side. So clearly the price that you will pay is not going to be different. It's not going to be the same, it's going to be different. And that's something you have to take into account. And then you have to make sure that there's a backing and a commitment on a, let's say, long-term purchase contract, an HPA, hydrogen purchase agreement, that makes sure that it underpins the whole investment. By virtue of the contract or the grant agreement that we have with the JU, the good thing is that we have a number of the end users as part of the project, and they're also getting a little bit of funding help from the JU, and that also helps them go ahead with a decision to, let's say, purchase a fuel cell or purchase buses or vehicles or what have you. And that way they also can go through and have an investment decision to purchase those vehicles and, of course, purchase the hydrogen later on from us. I'm going to stop there because otherwise I'm going to run out of time.
I think that was Carlos already immensely helpful. I want to throw the ball to Pedro on this, because you also similarly engaged in mobility as a key offtake group. So can you maybe walk us through a little bit through the key contracts and commercial relationships that are going to underpin your project? You mentioned, for instance, you're behind the meter. So you know, how in terms of integrating power supply for electrolysis into your project, and then refueling and fleet operators. Just in very basic terms, how is that going to be structured commercially?
Well, it's going to be a bit of a puzzle. So the reason why behind the meter is by necessity. So the local utility wasn't able to provide the power that we need, especially considering that by definition we are a green hydrogen producer. So they couldn't even provide the amount or certify it's going to be green energy. Then as a mobility, our project is located in Central Valley in California. That is a region that is halfway through Los Angeles and San Francisco Bay Area. California and the California hydrogen hubs, they are focusing their efforts and the investment in both sides. And then we are like 3 hours drive between the two of them. And it was a location where there was no development. When we started the project, we started with our own equity together with the financing from the California Energy Commission. So we have found out that our location is great. It's like a real estate location. And yeah, it's so what we found out is we were from a point that not having a year or so ago, not having a clear idea who would be our final off-takers, to have tier one off-takers line up asking us to buy our whole production from day one. Our role as a hydrogen producer is we are going to be producing the hydrogen. We're going to be dedicated around 30% of our production to our own refueling stations. And the remaining 70% is where we're going to be selling through, as Carlos says, hydrogen purchase agreements. And the same approach as Carlos, it depends on the client, depends on the conditions, the price is going to be different.
Yeah, understood. Very clear. Now let me go to Jaroslav. You also mentioned that you're currently in the process of preparing technical documentation, but also identifying off-takers. Can you walk us a little bit through your activities in identifying and securing off-takers for your valley in Ukraine? Which type of off-takers are you looking at, and why, and how do you engage them? How is that process going?
Thank you for interesting question. First of all, I would like to tell that we are now preparing technical documentation for renewable facilities, because we must be ready to get all permits and start construction when we will win this war. And now we are under negotiation with our possible off-takers. I can announce the name of this company because it's under NDA, but I can say that it's a metallurgical production plant. And all our steps of generation hydrogen production will depend of their reconstruction, because they need to replace their blast furnaces and build new shaft furnaces. But we expected that after the war, after the victory, Ukrainian hydrogen market will be growing, and we expect to supply our hydrogen for domestic market. But now our project is export oriented.
Excellent. Yeah, I saw the connection to the Blue Danube corridor that you mentioned. Corne, I wanted to come back to the Petchem project that you presented and the valley there. We had one specific question from Slido, so that doesn't count. I'll ask that question and then another question. The question on Slido was which hydrogen carriers are you looking at for export and why? And the second project is we see a lot. The second question is, sorry, we see a lot of valleys that want to combine local offtake opportunities, local decarbonization with global export aspirations, and they want to do that through kind of a phased process of building up capacity. Can you maybe walk us a little bit through how you plan to do that in terms of timing, size, and capacity, and also contracts that you plan to sign? You know, knowing that exports only become economic beyond a certain capacity, and local offtake needs will be different. So first question on carriers. The second question on how you plan to phase the growth of the project with local and global offtake.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, it will be ammonia for exports. The largest market, as we foresee, will be European Union, but also maybe to Asia. And they ask indeed for ammonia. And there will be probably changes in other liquid hydrogen carriers. But that's also up to the market at the end of the day. And it depends on volumes as well. And again, if you decide to do that, then you need to change your hydrogen production facility. And nowadays, ammonia is just being linked to your electrolyzers, and if then with other products, it will be different. We in the Port of Rotterdam, we look at after those things, and we keep in mind that all these things will be necessary. On the Brazil side, it will be because of the distance ammonia. Well, with regards to to scaling it up, is that the big companies that we're talking to now, investors, and which are quite far with their studies, they need offtake at the end of the day. And because we want to actually de-risk the whole supply chain, and we said, okay, well, we'll ship it to Europe at the end of the day. And then the Port of Rotterdam is trying to facilitate it by actually having a pipeline, which was earlier mentioned, from the Port of Rotterdam into the hinterland of the Netherlands, but also into Germany. And then you create actually demand which is taken. The difficulty will be that the industrial, the high energy requirements of the German industry, but also in Holland, is also trying to change now to make the investment. But that is the first purpose what we aiming for. We're also looking at de-risking the supply chain, is that it also gives an impact on your complete financing. If you have to finance every little part of your supply chain, then the risk factor will be much larger at the end of the day. And locally, it is purely demand driven. So we've got the steel factory, if they need hydrogen, okay, which their plans are being worked out at the moment, then we will pump in hydrogen. But there is also possibilities of aviation fuels, for instance. And then the airlines need to start talking to our producers to see how they set up these kind of things. So we stimulate it, but it is driven by demand at the end of the day.
Excellent, very clear. Final question also from Slido. I think I can also direct to Carlos again, given that it's also about a combined public and private funding. The question was about how you actually organize technology and equipment supply in publicly funded projects. It sounds like there are developers contemplating to integrate the technology companies already in the Valley Consortium, but on the other hand, they think they would have to, of course, publicly tender the key equipment supply contracts, especially when the project is significantly publicly funded. Can you maybe briefly share how you organize that in terms of integrating technology suppliers and equipment manufacturers into the project, make sure you actually have technology available, right, when you need it, but at the same time complying with the funding side of things?
In our project, in fact, all the technology suppliers are actually outside of the project. So Green Highland does not fund any technology supply directly. That is, there are no technology suppliers who are partners in the project and thus receiving funding from the European Commission, or in this case, the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. So we do everything on a best value for money basis. We do procurement and try to get the best available offer for all the main pieces of equipment, as you can imagine. And as is commonly the case for these kinds of European projects. So that's the way it's done here.
Excellent, very clear. Okay, mindful of time, Mirela, I'm quite amazed how well we've been managing the last 1 hour and 15 minutes time-wise. I want to say a big thank you to all of my panelists. But as Mirela will tell you, the materials from this session will be shared. So feel free to reach out. Feel free to go to the platform, check out their valleys, and contact them directly, which you can also do via the platform. Again, a big thank you. And now handing back over to Mirela for the final part of the event today.
Thank you. Thank you all again. If I miss anybody, it's not on purpose. If I miss anybody to thank, of course. So really, again, thank you to you, Uwe, Marcus, Laura, on behalf of the consultancies, and thank you to all of you developers of projects, but in particular to the speakers, to the panelists today. So really, thank you very much. Appreciated your time, but also the insights from your experiences. I think they were extremely useful. I hope, at least to me, and I hope for the audience in general. Really, thank you very much. Also for all of you and for the audience. I think there's going to be more work to be done. And like I said, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, at least the Clean Hydrogen GU, will continue supporting some of these valleys. Of course, we don't have money for all of them, and in Europe, of course, but at least supporting with some funding, as you know. And please do not forget to come to us and apply for funding. Of course, you heard that in some of the cases before, our funding at least was the first spark for putting together the project. So our call for this year has closed. We have 28 applications on hydrogen valleys, by the way, which we are currently evaluating. And we will do the same in January next year. We will publish another call, so do not hesitate to come to ask for funding from us. And without taking more time, because I think we really show for you everything on hydrogen valleys, I would like to now give the floor to our director of the Mission Innovation Clean Hydrogen Mission, who's from the side of the European Commission, taking care of all these things, including the Valley platform on hydrogen. And with that, again, I thank you very much. And last words are for you, Matthijs.
Thank you, Mirela. I would like to thank you as well for making this workshop possible together with Ron Burker. It's a great effort. I'm very happy with all the presentations and the input. Just very shortly, why are we doing this as Mission Innovation? I think we have a common target, and that's to combat the climate change. We shouldn't forget that. We have to invest in the renewables. We have to invest in the clean energy transition. And hydrogen is a very important building block in this clean energy transition. And you see as well in this picture, the combination of wind energy, the pipelines, the different end users, the decarbonization of the industry, which we are aiming at. And that's something to really keep in mind. And I think that's the powerful part of the hydrogen valleys, that we have new uses of hydrogen, the new decarbonization of industries on a local level, on a large level, on different levels. It's ultimately important that we keep the overarching aim in mind. And that's why it is a global challenge, because it's not a European. There was a lot of focus on European. No, Mission Innovation is a global collaboration. in the clean hydrogen mission, we have the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, Chile as co-leads leading the mission. And it's not only about hydrogen, building hydrogen valleys. To make it possible, we have to invest as well in research and innovation. To make even the business cases which we have discussed today even better, because we still need cost reductions. But also when you think about when you connect hydrogen valleys, you have to transport hydrogen or ammonia or whatever in the renewable fuel. How can we do that in an effective way? How can we improve that? And I think that's important. It was mentioned in the last panel, the use of renewable fuels in aviation. It's a new end user, but imagine that these aviations, planes are going to South America, to Australia and Africa, and there is no renewable fuel. So we have to build out this hydrogen economy on a global level, because otherwise we will not be successful. And for that reason, I'm also very happy to see in other countries initiatives to support hydrogen valleys. And I would like to mention, for instance, India. They just had a call open, or they just closed it, I think, even, to call for hydrogen valleys innovation clusters. They really are setting up. In the map which was shown, there were no hydrogen valleys yet in India, but they will come up soon. They will enter into the database. It's also South Africa, Namibia. I know that there are initiatives there, and they will be included as well. We need to reach at a certain point the 100, no, maybe even 200 hydrogen valleys in the Hydrogen Valley platform. And for that reason, I would like to invite you all to stay connected via the Hydrogen Valley platform and to see what is going on and to learn from each other. One of the issues as well is, oh, these valleys are already so advanced. Yeah, but we need them everywhere. So when you're in a beginner stage, don't hesitate to ask questions, to build on the experience of others and to accelerate your efforts. As you've seen as well today, it's about partnerships, building the right hydrogen ecosystem. It is not only business development. You need regulators, I heard it. You need governments, financing. You need all the different players and to build partnerships on that. It's about people. And that's, I think, important to learn from other people and to do it together. And I think it's very motivating to be connected with each other. We are on all different systems. I know a government is sometimes working different in Southern America or in Africa or in Europe, but we can still learn from each other how to do all these things effectively. And that's also that we need to exchange. And I hope that the Hydrogen Valley platform will help these exchanges. It's very important to speak up and to make other people learn as well from your experience or to get this knowledge. And I really hope that it will be an interactive platform for building up value change and sharing best practice cases. So please stay connected in that respect. I think it's very important because without you all, we will not make this global hydrogen economy. A coalition of the willing. Please show this will. I think it's important to share. Rosalinde van der Vlies and Christoph van Knobelsdorff had very inspiring speeches in the end. And that was saying as well, creating a powerful community to inspire people. I think that was a very nice sentence, I think, where we have to keep in mind, maybe to write it even on the wall. Inspiring people, building a powerful community. That's what we are aiming at. Please stay connected via the Hydrogen Valley platform. I would like to invite you as well to follow LinkedIn about future workshops which we are going to organize with Mission Innovation. We have as well a LinkedIn page. Happy to connect because it's also R&I is important to see the best practices. So keep in mind that we have to work together to build a powerful community to inspire people, and that's where I like to end this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matthijs. Really thank you also to you for your support to the entire project and for being with us as we go through the project. Really, thank you for your time. Of course, I forgot somebody to thank to, and that would be my team. and I should have I would have regretted if not doing so. So really, thank you very much to my team who also made everything even today possible. So I would like to thank Antonio, Costis. They are behind. You may not see them, but I would like to thank them all, and of course my communication team. And please follow follow our account, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, or the H2V.eu or the Clean Hydrogen Mission accounts on our social media. Please follow this, and you will get for sure more info about this.
Mirela, can I do still a proposal? We keep the Slido shortly open. If people still have questions, they can put them in the Slido or put them on the Hydrogen Valley platform. And we like to come back as well. I know there's still a question on the shipping mission. Yes, we are working. They're part of the system, the ecosystem, and they have to inspire. We're working together with Clean Energy Ministerial, with the IPHE. It's very important. But I would like to see the questions and that people are staying connected. And I would like to thank you all the listeners for being in this very interesting workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So follow us. Remaining questions, for sure we will answer to them. Do not hesitate to harass us with more questions if you see the need. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And again, if I forgot anybody, apologies, but we are a team, and only like that we can make it through. Really, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.